If you're new here, please subscribe and like the video. Your support means everything to us. In today's video, I want to share a story that changed the way I see people, trust, and survival itself. I never thought it would come to this. But when my landlord knocked on my door that morning, I knew I was out of options. 3 months behind on rent. No job. No savings. No family to call. And then he made me an offer. An offer that would change my life forever. Before we begin, please take a second to like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. And your support lets me share more real-life stories like this one. Now let's begin. The sound of the knock felt heavier than usual. Not loud, but deliberate, like each strike was counting down to something I didn't want to face. I opened the door slowly. There he was, Mr. Harris. My landlord. Mid-50s. Always well-dressed, always polite, until rent was due. He glanced past me into the apartment, a small, one-bedroom unit that still smelled faintly of the burnt toast I'd made for breakfast. "You're 3 months behind, Julia," he said, voice calm but cold. I nodded, clutching the edge of my sweater. "I know. I've been applying for jobs, but..." He raised his hand, stopping me mid-sentence. "Julia, I've heard that line before. You're a smart woman. You know how this works." I swallowed hard. I knew he was right. The eviction notice was probably already printed. That night, I sat alone at my small kitchen table, staring at the eviction notice like it was a death sentence. I had tried everything. Extra shifts at the diner before it shut down. Borrowing from friends who were just as broke as I was. Selling my old clothes online. Nothing worked. The fridge was nearly empty. My power bill was overdue. And the fear of losing even this small apartment. The only space that was truly mine, pressed against my chest like a weight I couldn't lift. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Mr. Harris. "We need to talk. Come by tomorrow morning. I might have a solution." My stomach twisted. A solution? I didn't know what he meant. But I didn't have the luxury to say no. The next morning, I stood outside his office, heart pounding. His office was neat, almost too neat. Every file labeled, every corner dusted. He poured 2 cups of coffee before sitting across from me. "I've been thinking about your situation," he said, his tone measured. "And I might be able to help, but not in the usual way." I frowned. "Help how?" He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "I manage a few other properties, bigger ones. Some of my tenants run side businesses that require discretion. They need someone trustworthy to assist them. Nothing illegal, just private." The pause before private made my skin crawl. "What kind of work?" I asked quietly. He smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Deliveries. Errands. Paperwork. You'd get paid well enough to clear your rent in a week." That night, I barely slept. Something about the offer didn't feel right, but I couldn't ignore it either. I told myself it was just work. Just helping with deliveries. Nothing else. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. Still, I showed up. He handed me a sealed envelope. "Take this to the address written on the front. Don't open it. Don't ask questions. And don't be late." It was raining that night, hard. I remember gripping the steering wheel of my old car, watching the raindrops blur the world outside. When I reached the address, it wasn't an office. It was a dimly lit warehouse on the edge of town. A man in a black coat stepped out, looked at me, and took the envelope. "Right on time," he muttered. Then he slipped me a folded wad of cash and walked away. No signature. No receipt. Just silence. When I got home, I counted the money. Enough to cover rent and groceries. But the relief didn't last long. Because when something feels that easy, it usually isn't. Days turned into weeks. Each delivery felt riskier. Sometimes it was packages. Sometimes documents. Once it was a small locked briefcase. Mr. Harris never told me what was inside, and I stopped asking. But then one night, I saw something that changed everything. At the warehouse, one of the men dropped a folder. Papers scattered across the floor. I bent down to help him, and froze. Inside were bank statements. Names. Transfers. Offshore accounts. I wasn't delivering mail. I was delivering money. Dirty money. When I got home, My hands were still shaking. I realized I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. The next morning, I stormed into Mr. Harris's office. "What is this really? What have you gotten me into?" He didn't even flinch. "You're being paid, aren't you? And your rent's current for the first time in months." "That's not the point," I snapped. "You said it was legitimate." He smiled faintly. "Legitimate is a flexible word, Julia. The world runs on favors, not morals." That's when I realized he had never been helping me. He'd been grooming me, pulling me deeper into something I didn't understand. I wanted out, but he wasn't about to let me go. He reminded me that I had signed delivery receipts, documents with my name on them. "If this operation ever gets exposed," he said quietly, "your name will be on those papers, not mine." He had trapped me completely. I left his office numb. I felt like the walls of my life were closing in, inch by inch. For days, I replayed everything in my head. Every delivery, every lie, every look. And then I made a decision. If Mr. Harris wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. I started keeping records. Dates. Locations. Times. Copies of the envelopes. Hidden photos on my phone. I built a trail. One that led directly back to him. 3 weeks later, I sent an anonymous package to the police. Inside everything. The documents. The photos. The proof. Within days, the news broke. A local landlord arrested for money laundering and racketeering. The man who thought he owned me was suddenly behind bars. And me? I walked away. Free. Scared. But free. I moved out of that building a month later. Found a job at a small cafe across town. Every time I pass by my old apartment, I think about how close I came to losing myself completely. But that's the thing about desperation. It makes you do things you never thought you would. Sometimes survival doesn't make you strong. It makes you dangerous. If you've ever been pushed to your breaking point, if life has ever forced you into a corner, know this. There's always a way out. It might not be clean. It might not be easy. But it's there. You just have to find the courage to take it. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Stay strong, stay aware. And remember, not every offer is what it seems.